You are sitting in your car at a red light and the sky just opened up and you cannot see a single thing through your windshield because your wipers are doing absolutely nothing except smearing the rain into a blurry, streaky, headlight glare nightmare across the glass, and you are gripping that steering wheel so tight your knuckles are white and your jaw is clenched because you bought those blades 4 months ago. 4 months, and already they are chattering across the glass like a dying machine, screeching that high-pitched rubber squeal on every single pass, skipping over puddles and leaving behind these massive arcing waterfall streaks that make every oncoming headlight explode into a blinding starburst pattern, and you are sitting there genuinely afraid to accelerate because you literally cannot see the road, and somewhere in the back of your mind you are already doing the math. You already know what tomorrow looks like. You are going to drag yourself into that auto parts store. You are going to stand in that fluorescent aisle, staring at a wall of blades that all look exactly the same, except one costs $8 and one costs $54. And some guy in a red vest is going to walk over and tell you, with a completely straight face, that the cheap ones are garbage and you need the premium beam-style silicone-coated aerodynamic performance blade, and you are going to hand over your $50 because what choice do you have? You have to see out your windshield, and you are going to drive home and install them, and they are going to work perfectly for about 3 to 4 months, and then the exact same nightmare is going to start all over again, and you are going to be back in that same aisle handing over another $50. And this cycle is going to repeat for the rest of your life, unless you watch this video right now to the very end, because I am about to tell you something that will make you genuinely furious at an industry that has been quietly robbing you for years. Your wiper blades are not broken, they are not worn out, the rubber is not degraded. I want you to hear that clearly because everything you have been told by every auto parts retailer, every car dealership, service department, and every sponsored automotive blog on the internet is designed to make you believe the opposite. The rubber compound on a wiper blade does not physically deteriorate in 4 months or 6 months or even a year under normal use. That is a myth so profitable that an entire replacement industry has been built on top of it. What actually happens to your blades is something completely different, and it has nothing to do with the rubber wearing down. Your car drives through a gauntlet of invisible chemistry every single day. Tree sap drifts down from overhanging branches and lands on your hood and bonds to your wiper blades. Exhaust particulates and diesel fumes from every vehicle ahead of you in traffic contain hydrocarbon oils that deposit in a microscopic layer across every exposed rubber surface on your car. Road tar gets kicked up by your own front tires and atomizes into a fine mist that settles on your blades. Industrial pollution, bird droppings, pollen-carrying sticky proteins, all of it layers on top of that rubber edge over weeks and months until the contact surface of your blade is no longer rubber at all. It is a compacted, hardened crust of organic and petrochemical grime that cannot grip the glass, cannot channel water cleanly, and creates that chattering, screeching, skipping horror show every time it rains. And here is the part that should make your blood boil. You do not need to spend a single dollar to fix this. Right now, in your bathroom cabinet, you have a bottle of rubbing alcohol. 70% isopropyl from any drugstore costs about $2 for a massive bottle that will last you 3 years. And somewhere on your desk or in a drawer or in your kid's backpack, you have a standard graphite pencil. A number 2 pencil, a pencil that costs approximately $1 for a pack of 12. Those two items combined will restore your wiper blades to better than factory performance in under 60 seconds, and the results will last for months. And I am going to show you the exact chemistry behind why this works, because once you understand the science, you will never set foot in a wiper blade aisle again. But before we get into the protocol, I need you to do something. I need you to hit that subscribe button right now, not because I am asking nicely, but because every subscription this channel gets is a direct financial message to the corporations that have turned basic car maintenance into a predatory subscription model. These companies, and I am talking about the major auto parts retail chains that dominate every shopping plaza in America, these are not innocent businesses selling you a product you genuinely need. They are running what I can only describe as a legalized extraction operation. They know the replacement cycle. They know that the average driver replaces their blades roughly twice a year. They know that the factory coating on new blades is intentionally applied in a microscopic layer so thin it wears off in approximately 3 to 4 months of use, at which point the rubber starts accumulating grime and the customer comes back in. The premium blade tier, the beam blades, the silicone blades, the winter performance blades, all of that exists to capture the customers who get frustrated enough to upgrade, charge them a higher margin, and keep them in the same replacement cycle at a higher price point. So subscribe, share this video, and let's pull apart exactly how this scam operates down to the molecular level. When a new wiper blade comes off the factory line, the rubber edge that contacts your windshield is coated in graphite powder. This is not a secret. It is right there in the manufacturing documentation if you care to look for it. Graphite, the same material in your pencil, is one of the most effective dry lubricants known to material science. It forms a thin crystalline layer that has an extraordinarily low coefficient of friction against glass, which is why a brand new blade glides silently, seats perfectly against every curve of your windshield, and channels water with surgical precision. That graphite layer is what makes a new blade feel like a new blade. Now that graphite layer is physically thin. After a few months of mechanical contact against glass combined with the constant washing and wiping and UV exposure and temperature cycling from cold mornings to hot afternoons, that graphite coating is essentially depleted. And the moment it is gone, the raw rubber is exposed to all of that road chemistry we talked about earlier. The tree sap, the exhaust oil, the tire debris, all of it bonds directly to the unprotected rubber surface and hardens into that contamination crust. The rubber underneath that crust is structurally identical to the rubber on a brand new blade. It is not cracked, it is not hardened from sun exposure, it is not torn or deformed. It is just suffocating under a layer of grime that is preventing it from making proper contact with the glass and sliding cleanly. The squeaking you hear is not rubber wearing against glass. It is that contamination layer catching and releasing microscopically with every pass, creating a stick-slip vibration pattern that your ears register as a screech. The streaking is not caused by a warped or worn blade profile. It is caused by the contamination layer disrupting the thin water film that should be channeled evenly across the glass surface. When you understand this, the solution becomes blindingly obvious. You need to do two things. First, dissolve and strip that contamination layer completely. Second, replace the depleted graphite coating. Isopropyl alcohol is a broad-spectrum organic solvent. It is miscible with water, which means it penetrates water-based grime, and it dissolves a wide range of hydrocarbon compounds including the tree sap resins and exhaust oil deposits that make up the majority of wiper blade contamination. It evaporates cleanly, leaving no residue, and it does not attack or degrade cured rubber compounds at the concentrations found in standard drugstore rubbing alcohol. A graphite pencil is, at its core, a mixture of graphite and clay binder compressed into a solid rod. When you rub the tip of that pencil along a surface, you are depositing a layer of graphite particles that is functionally identical to the factory graphite coating applied to new wiper blades. The particle size, the crystalline structure, the lubricating properties are all the same. You are not improvising a solution. You are performing a chemically accurate restoration of the factory specification coating using a component that costs a fraction of a cent per application. This is the part where I need to address the elephant in the room, which is the premium blade market and the very sophisticated marketing language used to justify it. If you go into any auto parts store right now, you will see wiper blades positioned at price points ranging from roughly $8 all the way up to $55 or $60. And the packaging language gets progressively more impressive as the price climbs. Words like beam technology, natural fit, silicone compound, all-weather performance, aerodynamic lift reduction design. Let me tell you what you are actually paying for at the high end of that price range. The beam blade design, which eliminates the traditional metal frame in favor of a single tensioned arc, does have a legitimate engineering advantage in terms of even pressure distribution across the blade. I will give them that. A frameless beam blade does seat slightly more consistently against a curved windshield surface in theory, but here is what the marketing will never tell you. The rubber edge of a $55 beam blade, that microscopic rubber edge that actually contacts the glass, collects exactly the same road tar and exhaust oil as the rubber edge of an $8 conventional blade. The contamination chemistry does not care about your blade's aerodynamic profile. It does not care about your silicone compound marketing claims. Every exposed rubber surface on every wiper blade at every price point will accumulate the same grime layer over the same general time frame. And when that happens, that $55 blade will screech and streak and chatter and skip just as badly as the $8 blade. You are paying for a plastic housing design and a marketing story. The microscopic rubber edge is still rubber and it still fails the same way. The truly sophisticated move here is not upgrading to a more expensive blade. The sophisticated move is understanding the chemistry and maintaining the blade you already have. Now let me give you the exact restoration protocol because the execution details matter enormously here, and there is one critical warning in the middle of this process that I am going to make very clear, because if you skip that step, you will cause the only kind of damage in this entire video that is actually permanent and actually requires a real fix. Start by pulling your wiper blade away from the glass and holding it out so the rubber edge is fully accessible. Take a clean microfiber cloth or even a paper towel, saturate it with your isopropyl alcohol, and run it firmly along the entire length of the rubber blade edge. You will see the cloth start to pull black and brown grime immediately. That is the contamination layer releasing. Keep going, make multiple passes. Keep wiping until you make a fresh pass and the cloth comes back with significantly less discoloration, ideally nearly clean. On heavily contaminated blades, this might take 4 or 5 passes per blade. Do not be gentle. You need to physically strip that contamination from the rubber surface, and the alcohol needs direct mechanical contact to do its job properly. Once you have stripped the contamination, stop. Put down the pencil. Do not touch the pencil yet. This is the critical step, and I am going to say this as clearly as I can. You must wait for the alcohol to flash off and dry completely before you apply the graphite. The rubber must be 100% dry. Not mostly dry, not looks dry, completely and fully dry with zero residual moisture. Here is exactly what happens if you ignore this. Isopropyl alcohol is a solvent. In its wet state, it keeps materials in suspension. If you rub graphite pencil onto rubber that still has even a trace of wet alcohol on the surface, the alcohol will suspend those graphite particles in a liquid slurry. That slurry will penetrate the microscopic surface texture of the rubber and load it up with a dense, concentrated graphite paste. The moment that contaminated blade hits your windshield glass on the first rainy day, that slurry will smear across your entire field of vision in a black paste that bonds to glass and is genuinely difficult to remove. I am talking about a streaking pattern that reduces visibility to near zero and requires extensive glass cleaning work to fix. So wait. Give it 30 to 60 seconds in warm weather, a bit longer if it is cold or humid. When the rubber looks matte and dry and you can run a dry fingertip across it without any slickness, you are ready. Take your graphite pencil and with firm pressure, run the tip along the entire rubber edge of the blade. Work slowly, overlap your passes slightly. You are trying to deposit a consistent, even layer of graphite along that entire contact surface. Do the full length of both blades. You will likely see a slight gray tint to the rubber surface when you are done. That is correct. That is your reinstalled factory coating. Lower the blade back against the windshield. Repeat for the second blade and you are finished. The total elapsed time from first alcohol wipe to finished graphite application is somewhere between 45 seconds and 2 minutes, depending on how methodically you work and how contaminated your blades were to begin with. The result is a blade that glides silently, seats perfectly, and channels water with the same precision as the day it was installed. And that coating will last for months of normal use before you need to repeat the process, at which point you pick up your pencil and do it again in under a minute. Now let me put some numbers on this so the financial reality is completely undeniable. If you are replacing your wiper blades twice a year, which is roughly the industry recommended interval, and coincidentally exactly the interval that keeps the replacement business running at full capacity, and if you are buying mid-range blades at around $25 each for a pair, you are spending $50 a year on wiper blades. If you have gotten sucked into the premium beam blade marketing, you might be spending $80 to $100 a year or more. Over the 5-year ownership period of a typical vehicle, that is $250 to $500 spent on a product that you did not need to replace. The isopropyl alcohol solution I told you about costs $2 for a bottle that will last years. A pack of pencils costs $1 and you will use one pencil per year if you apply this every single month out of an abundance of caution. The total annual cost of this maintenance protocol is a number so close to zero that it functionally rounds down to zero. You are replacing a $50 to $100 annual expense with the cost of a pencil tip and a few cents of rubbing alcohol. There is nothing else in automotive maintenance with a return on investment that even comes close to that ratio. So here is what I need you to do right now. This video needs to find the right person, and you already know exactly who that person is. It is that one person in your life, your friend, your coworker, your family member, the one who complains every single time it rains, the one who says, "I just bought new wipers, why are they already garbage?" The one who is going to hand over another $50 to a retail chain next week because they do not know this exists. Send them this video right now, tag them in the comments, text it to them directly. Because every person who finds out about this is one fewer transaction going into the pocket of an industry that has profited for decades off the assumption that you would never think to question why wiper blades keep failing at such a suspiciously consistent rate. The rubber is fine, the chemistry is simple, the fix is free, go find your